Hello, we continue working on our color, and after when you done any iterations or any changes to your color, make sure you transfer that changes to your master pattern. Then what we're going to do, we're going to cut our seam allowance. So this is my center back, that second line. And I'm going to leave only 1 centimeter seam allowance. You don't need it more. And actually, in fact, it's going to be too much. So you mark your seam allowance all around that way. Okay, so this one is your seam allowance here. And now you cut your seam allowance to leave only 1 centimeter. Okay, like that. Here prepared earlier for you, so you can see. So upside down here. So you can see we've got 2 colors. So cut the seam allowance and then mark. So that's center back on another side. Yeah, with 1 centimeter seam allowance. You do have your other seam allowance left. You can keep them at the moment until later on we're going to cut them out. Now, the next part would be is we're going to machine your center back together, but it's not the traditional way as we usually do. What I would like you to do, center back, that center back, put on top of that center back, not just machine it in the way, but actually both of them folded the line. So as you notice, they are curvy lines, so therefore we have to create that curve line. So it's very, very important. And in fact, it would be easier for you if I show you a little trick how to do it. So what you need to do on one of those lines, you mark 1 centimeter because we have that, the distance of that seam allowance is 1 centimeter. So I'm going to mark another line, so which is going to be your line, which is guideline more. So you've got that line, especially where it goes on the curve. So it's very important that you create that line very accurately. Okay, so now you've got that a new line, which is parallel, exact parallel to your center back. Now you matching the center back with the center back here. So by pinning on the center back, but your seam allowance follow your guidelines. You see, you're actually now stretching a little bit in order to be able to match with your center back. See, that's your center back here. I'm trying to match with this line here. So, and my guideline just helps me to do that much easier. Yeah, so mark that. And then you pin it together and straight away you can see the shape. It's what's the shape it became. Yeah, so and the reason is for that, it helps us as well go around. So that's your neckline here. It straight away gives that nice curvy shape which is we need for the color, which is will sits like that later on around the neck. See, perfect. So that's why it's so important to have that shape. So the next part you need to do is you need to machine your center back. You machine exactly. I will advise you to maybe tack that line so it stays intact, otherwise it can be moved. So you need to make sure it's on the center back. So you machine it exactly on the center back, one line. Then you will put another machine stitching on another side on your seam allowance. So you hold your seam allowance on one side. And then if you flip over, you have another seam allowance here. And then you machine those seam allowance as well. So I can see my doesn't actually follow. So I'm just going to change a little bit of my pinning. So I like when it's all precise. That's it. So make sure it follows all my all my work lines. So, yeah. Perfect. See that? It's curves. That's how you do. So here I prepared earlier for you. So when you machined, see that? And it keeps that lovely shape there. Okay, so imagine your break line. Now I cut my seam allowance, and also when I cut my seam allowance, so you just need to adjust it, make sure that line here is nice and smooth. So it's very, very important you do that. The smooth line. Okay, and do exactly the same around your neckline. See, so it's slightly uneven after when I cut my seam allowance. So when I machined as well. So just going to perfect that line, so it's more straighter. So it's great. See that little things is sticking out. So I'm going to just make it nice and straight. So the more it's precise and neat, the easier it is to work with. Okay, so all my seam allowance is being cut and that's attached in the middle. Okay, so it's ready now to go, and I'll see you in the next session when we're going to cut your mountain. See you, bye.